Yo Ron, it's Peter. In the photo that you can see is of me and my granddad. I think this photo was taken just a few days after I was born, and this is us again many years later. Sadly, he passed away in December 2020 amidst the whole pandemic chaos due to complications with his health. But he was a strong man. He beat cancer just a year before without complaining once about his treatment, despite it taking so much of a physical toll on him. Amongst other things, December 2020 was the hardest month in my life. I don't think that I'll ever fully heal from those experiences, but I've grown as a person because of them. You probably have noticed me wearing a chain with a ring around my neck in a few of my videos. It looks similar to what you see in the Lord of the Rings. The ring is actually my granddad's wedding band. I wear it with me as a memento and a lucky charm, something to remember him by. But today I'm going to restore his everyday watch. He's worn it for as long as I can remember and it's been sitting collecting dust for the past 2 years. It deserves to be loved as he loved it. I'm no watch expert, but with some research, it seems to be a Seiko SQ from between the 80s and 90s. It's in pretty bad shape at the moment, but with a bit of elbow grease, I think I can get it back looking fresh again. It needs a deep wash and a battery change. I've never done this before, so it's going to be a challenge, but I am excited. I want to get it back to working order and have it serve me like it served my granddad and share the journey with you guys. Let's get this beautiful watch working again. So as you can see, I've already disassembled the watch into its pieces. This was because it was quite fiddly, so I did it off camera. Anyway, these parts will need a deep clean since there is dirt in all the crevices of the watch, and since it is waterproof stainless steel, I think I should be able to submerge it without any issues. I'm just a bit wary of its age, so maybe there are gaps for water to get in, but I'll just keep an eye out. To clean the parts, I used an old electric toothbrush head with some dish soap. It was fairly easy to do, but it took a long time since there was a lot of dirt that has settled into the gaps of the links and the corners of the watch, which was very tough to get off. I chose not to use gloves to have a better feel of the parts, but my hands were dry like sandpaper once I was done. I think next time I'll use gloves. Also, I made sure to close the sinkhole in case I drop something. You don't want to lose anything into the drain. Whilst you watch me clean, I'm going to use this opportunity to share a memory that I have with my granddad. When I was 5 or 6, I remember being really into creating snowflakes out of paper. You know when you fold paper into a center point and then cut shapes into them, and then when you open them up, it gives a really interesting pattern similar to a snowflake. And I think my granddad picked up on this, so one day he brought home a bunch of lattice papers from the restaurant that he worked at. They're small decorative papers used on plates to make them look more fancy. They used to use them quite often in Chinese restaurants, but I don't think it's used anymore because they went out of fashion. But I remember being so happy to receive these plate decorations since they were so much better than anything I'd made. It's one of the earliest memories I have with my granddad, and it's one that I really do cherish, because to him, he was just giving his grandson some paper that he thought they'd like. But looking back at it in hindsight now as an adult, it shows me that even small gestures like that can make people really happy. It's just a matter of perspective, and this has become even clearer to me now since I've been practicing gratitude a lot more. So once I cleaned all the dirt off the watch that I can see and it's now sparkling, I'm going to polish it through with toothpaste. According to my grandma, toothpaste would make it shine even more, so why not? By the way, I do feel the minty fresh feeling on my skin as I polish the watch, and this is doing no favours to my skin at all. Once that's done, I rinsed and dried the parts. They now look like this. There's an extra part because I detached the strap for deeper cleaning. It looks so much shinier than before. Check out the difference. My granddad had beefy wrists, and unfortunately I did not receive those genes. So since I got small wrists, I have to remove some of the links. After a quick search online, I learned how to do it. Just stick a thin, flat head screwdriver into the gap and remove the lock. It was quite fiddly, but after a few adjustments, I found the best fit. The watch looks so much better than when I first started, but then I realised that I still needed to replace the battery, and to do that I need some batteries and a way to open the backplate. So I ordered the batteries online and tried to open the backplate using home tools, which did not work. This was risky since I could scratch the watch, but I was really careful. But since it didn't work and it really hurt my fingers, I opted to order a special tool to open the backplate. And with a bit more research, I ordered some new gasket O-rings and silicone grease for waterproofing. After a few days of waiting that felt like months, the packages all came and then I could continue with the process. This is the tool that's used to remove the back of the watch. I had to detach the clasp just to get a better view. So you have to spin this wheel to get the anchors to the right distance with the notches. I used plastic to prevent any damages to the watch. I thought I failed at my first attempt, but it opened, which was a relief because I actually didn't think the tool would work, to be honest. It seems like my granddad had this last serviced in 2018, and I assume that BC means battery change. I'm glad that the inside of the watch looked so simple, which meant that the battery change would be simple. I was slightly worried that the battery change wouldn't work, but it did, and the watch started moving again, which was another big relief. I was super happy that the watch was working again, but I had to put it aside to replace the O-ring on the back plate of the watch. It's this thin black hoop that is really hard to take off. This hoop helps prevent liquids from entering the watch. As you can see, the old O-ring is a lot thinner than the new one, so it was a good thing that I bought a replacement. The threads of the back plate was a bit dirty, so I went to dry brush off the dirt. I didn't want to use any water because I didn't want to risk the internals getting wet. I also bought this silicone grease to grease the O-rings since it was supposed to help with the waterproofing of the watch. I'm not 100% sure if it's the right one, but I'm quite confident that it will still do the job. It was a bit silly that I tried to apply the grease on the O-ring with a Q-tip and a cotton pad because the fibers kept sticking, which is bad since they absorb water. And that is the exact thing that you don't want to happen. So instead I just used my fingers to get a thin layer onto the O-ring. Then I installed the O-ring onto the back plate, carefully closed up the watch and reattached the clasp. And with that, it's done.
And this is the final product. You can see that it's working, it's telling the right time, it's telling the right date, and it's telling the right day. And it looks so shiny, clean and beautiful. And I'm just so happy that I was able to restore something that meant so much to my granddad back to a working state. And now that it's working again, I can wear it and have it, do its job for me like it did for him. It just reminds me of how much it meant to him, because when we found the watch, it wasn't even working, it wasn't even on, so the battery was already dead at that point. And he never said anything to anyone. He didn't tell anyone to go fix his watch and go change the battery, because he still wore it, but nobody knew it wasn't working, so he just wore the watch regardless of whether it was working or not. I guess it was somewhat of a comfort piece. Like, he's so used to wearing the watch that he just wore it regardless of whether it was working or not. So just thinking back about that, I'm just really happy that I was able to restore it back to how it is now. It was a pretty therapeutic journey, because I knew that by the end I could hopefully have a working watch or restore it to a place where it didn't look so bad anymore. And I think that's what mattered the most, because this is something that meant a lot to him, and now it means a lot to me. And just to be able to take you guys on this journey with me to fix this watch and learn so many things about watches, and having all this equipment that now I don't really need anymore, but I guess it'll just be for future maintenance for the watch or other watches that I have. But I wouldn't have had this experience if I didn't work on this one. So it was super nice to be able to do something like that. But yeah, what do you guys think? Did you guys learn something on this journey with me? Did you enjoy the video? Do you have something sentimental for yourself that is similar to me and this watch and my ring that I always wear all the time? Just let me know down in the comments below, because I'd love to know. And leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel if you want some more content that is similar to this. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Peace.